Or like she really believes this. How is this a better situation than what you were in before? She's talking about the apartment where her kids used to sleep while they eat fruit was worse than being in a motel with 7 people. She also made it known that there's finally enough beds for everybody to sleep. So do you admit that Deshaun was sleeping on the floor, on a little mat? Because that's what it sounded like to me. And the accents, where are they coming from? Like, every video she speaks like a different accent. And why is she always blaming somebody else but this man right here? And he always got that jacket on. But
there comes a time when people have to stop laughing along and really open their eyes. And with Stephanie Jenkins and the way things are unfolding online, that time feels like right now. For a while, people were caught up in the dance videos, the parenting content, the relatable chaos, but there's been something quietly disturbing sitting right beneath the surface. And it's not about the aesthetic or the content, it's about a child. One child, in particular, whose body is starting to tell a story no one can afford to ignore anymore. Deshaun, the young boy who's frequently featured in videos posted by Stephanie's partner, has become the silent focus of growing concern. It started with what looked like a harmless video, him lying on a bed, filmed by his father as part of their so-called Dad Chronicles. But what was supposed to be a sweet parenting moment quickly took a dark turn when viewers noticed his arms. They weren't just scratched or scraped from playing outside, there were bruises, scars, and raised marks that clearly didn't just appear overnight. Some marks looked fresh. Others looked like they had been healing for a while, skin discolored, shiny, and scarred in a way that only happens after repeated injury. They weren't the type of bruises you get from clumsiness or horseplay. They looked painful, deep, and intentional. And the most unsettling part? You don't see anything like that on the other kids in the house, especially not Stephanie's daughters. Their skin? Always clear. Always untouched. Always shown in the best light.
Like, if you were on my page before I got banned, I literally said several times, if them cats was getting ate up, ain't no telling what them babies was getting ate up by. Look at this poor baby's arms. Don't make no motherfucking sense. Like, and how has nobody gotten them kids out of that situation? And TikTok, why the fuck do y'all want to take my account for speaking up for them and not take their parents' accounts for posting them? It's just crazy. It's baffling. It don't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense.
And don't get me fucking started when it comes to Deshaun. That shit is getting me. I've done nothing but be there for that kid. He calls me mama. Who does he look for in the morning? Me. Who does he rely on for food, clothing? Me. And I make sure he has it every time before myself.
Can I just say that I am so sick of this lady, like genuinely ill.
So then why is Deshaun the only one showing physical signs that something might be wrong? It's not the first time either. People haven't forgotten the black eye. There was a moment, one that shocked even the casual viewers, when Deshaun appeared on camera with visible swelling and discoloration around his eye. That wasn't a playground accident or a bump into the corner of a table. It was serious enough for CPS to intervene. Serious enough that they contacted his biological mother. That kind of injury doesn't happen in a loving, attentive household without someone noticing or stepping in. And yet Stephanie brushed it off. The woman who repeatedly tells her followers she's not soft seemed to minimize the incident, but from someone who presents herself as tough and unfiltered, the coldness of her response raised even more questions. Especially since Deshaun is not her biological child, and the difference in treatment between him and her daughters is becoming harder and harder to explain away. It's that difference that stings. Her daughters are always laughing, playing, participating in cute videos. They're praised, celebrated, doted on. Deshaun, meanwhile, often looks quiet, reserved, and sometimes even anxious on camera. And when something goes wrong, he seems to take the blame. There's an undercurrent of tension whenever he's around, and viewers are starting to pick up on it.
Like, if you were on my page before I got banned, I literally said several times, if them cats was getting ate up, ain't no telling what them babies was getting ate up by. Look at this poor baby's arms. Don't make no motherfucking sense. Like, and how has nobody gotten them kids out of that situation? And TikTok, why the fuck do y'all want to take my account for speaking up for them and not take their parents' accounts for posting them? It's just crazy. It's baffling. It don't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense. And his arms looking like that is exactly why he got on them long sleeve shirts when summer is around the corner. Okay? Like, stop playing with that little boy, please.
Go back with his mom. Honestly, Stephanie and Drew, they don't deserve to have those kids. Moms like Amanda MCG, This content is getting out of control.
On live streams, Stephanie's tone can shift in a heartbeat. One moment she's joking, the next she's snapping at the kids. There was even a moment where she listed everything she's done for Deshaun: clothing him, feeding him, providing a roof over his head, as if those things weren't the bare minimum. And then she added, "He only knows me as his mother," with a tone that sounded less like pride and more like resentment. As if his existence was a favor she was doing out of obligation. The way she said it left a pit in people's stomachs. You can't watch this kind of content and not start to wonder what happens when the camera's off. You can't look at a child whose body is covered in unexplained bruises and stay silent. There's only so much you can write off as accidents or parenting differences. And when the signs start stacking up like this, when you see the pain in a child's body and the tension in their silence, it stops being internet drama. It becomes a red flag waving in plain sight. Let's be honest, this isn't love. What we're seeing is someone trying to defend why a child should feel grateful for being barely acknowledged. It's not nurturing, it's guilt-tripping masked as parenting. And what's worse is that in trying to paint herself as the selfless caregiver, she exposed something far more troubling: a deep, consistent pattern of exclusion and emotional neglect. Nobody wants to talk about the big red flag, those mood shifts that flip on and off like a switch.
That shit is getting me. I've done nothing but be there for that kid. He calls me mama. Who does he look for in the morning? Me. Who does he rely on for food, clothing? Me. And I make sure he has it every time before myself. Unlike you. Try to remember that. Now for the subscribers who want to sit there and be like, hey, this is what we pay for a subscription for, this should be on the subscription side. Now I'm going to give a little more of a detailed story on the subscription side. A little more of like what actually went down with his whole, why he went to the hospital. And honestly, it might help me because I could just use to just talk the situation off, because I gotta play medical doctor sometimes, and it terrifies me, yo. Like I said, I've seen a lot, okay? I'll share more about that too.
The energy on her videos is sometimes playful, sometimes chaotic, and at other times, unsettling. People quietly wonder if there's more behind the scenes. Maybe substances are in play. Maybe it's just unchecked frustration. Either way, the way things spiral so quickly, and always seem to land hardest on one child, makes it impossible to ignore anymore. And it's not always the yelling or the dramatic clips that say the most. Sometimes, it's the quiet ones, the ones where something small tells the whole story, like the video where the dad hands out donuts. The girls get theirs first, all smiles and excitement. But when he finally hands one to Deshaun, the kid actually looks shocked. Like he wasn't expecting to be included. And when he realizes he is, the joy on his face is heartbreaking. That kind of gratitude doesn't come from being spoiled. It comes from being left out one too many times. Before they upgraded their home, the girls had bunk beds. Deshaun? He slept on a fold-up chair. Not even a mattress. Let that sink in. A child, sleeping on a chair, while his siblings had proper beds. And it wasn't until the internet started noticing that they suddenly had fixed the situation and made it seem like there was enough for everyone. But why did it take public pressure for a little boy to get a basic place to rest his head? And then there's his hair. He wanted to grow it out. He had plans, his own style, his own identity.
Y'all shaved this little boy's head like slick ball, like zero scout ball, like neck hard ball. Like, are y'all trying to get him bullied or something? I'm so confused. And why do you keep telling them about stuff that's happening on the internet? I can't believe they shaved him bald, but can we talk about the grocery haul? They do know that they're in a hotel? Like, why does she have all of this meat? And mind you, she's getting lollipops, girl. Them things like $3 a piece. You got all this stuff in here, and Mr. Pre-Diabetic Drew is trying to fit it in a small mini fridge. Apparently that's his health issues. Pre-diabetic. And some other issues that are inconclusive, but he has to go to all these specialists. Okay, Stephanie. But look at this fridge. There's 4 packs of ground beef in there. She got milk, yogurt, cheese, butter, like all of this stuff is not going to stay cold in here. That is insane. And after all the food that they got, she decides to make curry in that small.
But instead of supporting him, they shaved his head completely. Not for comfort, not because he asked, but to match his father. Meanwhile, the girls kept their long hair untouched. It's not just a haircut. It's a symbol of being silenced, of being told your wants don't matter. In another clip, Stephanie films the girls getting new clothes. They laugh, show off outfits, hold them up proudly. But Deshaun? Nowhere to be seen. Not in frame. Not even acknowledged in the background. He didn't receive a single thing, not even a mention. He stood in the same room, watching everyone else be celebrated like he didn't even exist. And honestly, that's not about clothes. It's about connection. About knowing you belong. This wasn't a one-off. Even at their gender reveal party, everyone got to pop a balloon, except Deshaun. He stood there on the sidelines like he already knew not to expect inclusion. Not because he was confused, but because he was used to it. And that's the worst part. That quiet acceptance. That emotional withdrawal that happens when a child finally stops hoping they'll be seen. People think abuse has to be loud or violent to be real. But neglect is just as damaging. It chips away at a child's confidence, little by little. You don't always see scars, but you'll notice it in the way they speak less. In the way they shrink into the background. In the way they start believing they don't matter. And no child should ever feel like an outsider in their own home. This poor kid has been overlooked for so long, it's honestly heartbreaking to watch. He's always on the sidelines, never getting the attention or love he needs.
No, I think it's the other way around.
Other way?
Yeah, adding one of the hearts.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm going to try them on.
Can you open one so we can see it? Ready? Ooh, those look cute. Oh, they look so warm. They actually look pretty thick. What do you guys think? You say thank you yet?
Thank you, Dad. And the other sauce.
They're soft.
Them are hard. Yeah. Not all mine yet. I mean, but not all mine.
Do you love them?
Yeah. Can I try them all?
Of course.
Yeah. Can I try one on, Mommy?
Y'all ready?
It's like he's just blending into the background, and nobody's noticing. You can see it in how he walks through his world. He's not rushing ahead with the other kids. He's not excitedly jumping into the action. Nope, he's trailing behind like someone who's used to being forgotten. And the few times someone does pay attention to him, he's shocked. Like genuinely surprised when anyone notices he's even there. That's not something you see from a spoiled child, it's a reaction from someone who's been neglected and just isn't used to being cared for. And then, the real gut punch, the way he looks. That kid's eyes tell you everything. There's no spark, no fun energy, nothing that shows he's enjoying life like he should. He just looks empty. It's not a bad day or a phase. There's a heaviness in his eyes that says, I've been ignored for too long. And let's not kid ourselves, this is showing up on camera, so what's going on when the cameras are off? It's like Stephanie doesn't even care that she's showing us how out of place Deshaun feels in his own family. She posts these videos of him being left out and ignored, as if we're all too blind to notice how messed up it is. What's even crazier is how she treats the other kids. Those girls are always front and center, getting all the love and attention. Deshaun? He's just there. Like an extra in his own life. Let's talk about the time she filmed a wholesome moment of the girls getting new clothes, all excited, holding up their outfits. But where was Deshaun? Oh right, nowhere to be seen. He didn't get anything. Not a hoodie, not a t-shirt, nothing. Can you imagine how that feels? Watching everyone else get celebrated, and you're just left standing there, ignored like you don't even matter? This isn't just about clothes, it's about showing a kid that he's loved, that he's worth something. Instead, Deshaun's standing there like an afterthought, and it's downright sad.
Like, if you were on my page before I got banned, I literally said several times, if them cats was getting ate up, ain't no telling what them babies was getting ate up by. Look at this poor baby's arms. Don't make no motherfucking sense. Like, and how has nobody gotten them kids out of that situation? And TikTok, why the fuck do y'all want to take my account for speaking up for them and not take their parents' accounts for posting them? It's just crazy. It's baffling. It don't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense.
And don't get me fucking started. When it comes to Deshaun, that shit is getting me. I've done nothing but be there for that kid. He calls me mama. Who does he look for in the morning? Me. Who does he rely on for food, clothing? Me. And I make sure he has it every time before myself.
Can I just say that I am so sick of this lady, like genuinely ill.
But then, there's this whole other layer to the story that just makes it worse. Stephanie has this weird, cold attitude, and it's been showing up more and more. Remember how she treated her pets? She had cats, right? And when things got too complicated or inconvenient, she just labeled them as strays and tossed them aside. No big deal. No effort to rehome them, no real care, just done with them like they were nothing. So, what does that say about how she treats Deshaun, a kid who's not even her biological child? It's like she has this emotional detachment where no one really matters to her unless it benefits her. And guess what? Deshaun's the one suffering because of it. What really gets under my skin, though, is how she manipulates the whole situation. She rewrites the story so that she's the victim, like she has no choice but to act the way she does. And poor Deshaun gets swept under the rug every time. It's like she's got this narrative where everyone else is the problem, and she's just trying her best, except that's not the reality. The reality is that Deshaun's the one being neglected, and she's too busy playing the victim to notice. Look, hope isn't going to fix this.
Like, if you were on my page before I got banned, I literally said several times, if them cats was getting ate up, ain't no telling what them babies was getting ate up by. Look at this poor baby's arms. Don't make no motherfucking sense. Like, and how has nobody gotten them kids out of that situation? And TikTok, why the fuck do y'all want to take my account for speaking up for them and not take their parents' accounts for posting them? It's just crazy. It's baffling. It don't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense. And his arms looking like that is exactly why he got on them long sleeve shirts when summer is around the corner. Okay? Like, stop playing with that little boy, please.
It's beyond that. Deshaun doesn't need more empty promises or to be written off in yet another post. He needs real help, and honestly, he deserves better than this. He deserves to be loved, to be cared for, to be seen, not just as some background character in a TikTok video, but as a child who matters. He's been slipping through the cracks for way too long, and if no one steps in soon, we might lose the version of Deshaun that could have been full of life and joy. This is bigger than a TikTok family drama. It's about a kid who needs someone to actually show up for him, and right now, that's just not happening. Alright, guys, that's all I've got for today. This situation with Deshaun is seriously heartbreaking, and I'm hoping it opens your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes. If you think this needs to be talked about more, make sure to like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get the conversation going. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more updates on this story and others. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay aware, stay informed. Peace.